Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? So, I'm going to give you the latest on Assange. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Richard Medhurst. I'm a British journalist and one of the few to actually cover the Julian Assange case. I've been covering his extradition hearing since 2020, and I'm going to give you the latest on what happened today. So today, Julian Assange, well, he it's a win. Basically, the High Court allowed him to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, let me break this down for you because there's a little bit of confusion about what they approved and, what they denied. So I'm going to pull up this document for you to show you here. This is the pronouncement, okay? Now, if you look at the bottom, it says, "We refuse leave to appeal," okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, that's normal. That's normal because usually when you ask a high court to allow you to appeal to the Supreme Court, they're going to say no, because if they would say yes, it's basically as if the high court judges were saying, well, we don't know what we're talking about. Go see the Supreme Court. So that's normal. However, Julian Assange will be allowed to go to the Supreme Court because they allowed him to certify a point of law. So what Assange wanted to do is he wanted to certify 3 points of law, okay? So one of them is pertaining to Article 3 from the European Convention on Human Rights and Section 91. The one that they did approve, however, is about at what stage the assurances can be given. Because as you guys know, in January 2021, a district judge blocked Julian Assange's extradition, right? And the Americans took this to the High Court and they overturned the decision. And how did they manage to do that? Well, they were able to do that because they offered diplomatic assurances, right? They said, well, don't worry about Assange's health because we're going to treat him very nicely and we won't put him in SAMs, in special administrative measures, which are these horrific prison conditions. And they said he can even serve a sentence in Australia. And they gave all of these promises, right? And they won, right? The Americans won in the High Court. And the High Court said, okay, you can extradite him. We believe your assurances. We trust you. Now, the Supreme Court is going to look at whether it was okay for the Americans to give these assurances after they already lost the case. Because you have to remember, January 4th, 2021, Julian Assange wins. The judge blocks his extradition to the US. And then a month later, in February 2021, only then do the Americans finally give these assurances. Only then, a month after they lost, do they say, well, okay, we won't put him in SPAMs and we'll let him serve his sentence in Australia and he won't go to ADX Florence and all these hollow promises. And so the Supreme Court will have to look at whether it's okay for a requesting state. Requesting state means the country that's requesting the extradition, which in this case is the United States. So they're going to look at whether that's okay, right? So here they're going to see, it's number 2 is the point that was certified. Quote, in what circumstances can an appellate court receive assurances from a requesting state which were not before the court of first instance in extradition proceedings? Right, because the first court of extradition proceedings, just to translate what that means, that's the Old Bailey, right? That's the magistrate's court. So that's where we had the extradition hearing in September and October 2020 when I was there in London, and went on for weeks and weeks. And, every day we had tons of expert witnesses, journalists, historians, doctors, all coming in and testifying about the extradition and why it's bad, why it's an affront on press freedoms. And so during this time, you guys need to remember this is very important. During this time, the United States didn't give any assurances. On the contrary, they were trying to sell the idea that it's okay to put Assange in special administrative measures, right? They were saying that there's a program, a point system where you can lift the restrictions bit by bit if you behave well. Yeah, the problem is no one's ever been able to do that. They were saying that, well, it's not so bad. There's no such thing as solitary confinement. You can talk to the other prisoners, by screaming. so that they hear you maybe through the plumbing or the walls by, you know, screaming at the top of your lungs. They were saying ridiculous things like this. And so my point is that at no point did the Americans give any assurances. On the contrary, they were trying to sell the idea that SAMs are okay and they're not so bad. Right? So that's a fact. And then they lose the case a few months later in January. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we won't put him in SAMs, and here we promise you this and that. And, you know, this raises a very important legal question, right? This is the point of law, which the Supreme Court now has to look at. Is that okay? That after the first court, the magistrate's court, has finished and the district judge has seen all the evidence, that the requesting state gives assurances afterwards? Now, the High Court, they looked at this point, right? Here's the judgment from December, right? And the High Court said that, quote, "We are satisfied that we can receive the assurances notwithstanding the stage of proceedings at which they were put forward." So the High Court, you know, they didn't mind that the assurances were given. They said that the assurances can be given at any stage. But now the Supreme Court will have to look at whether that's okay. And so today, just by allowing one point of law to be looked at by the Supreme Court, that's enough for Julian Assange. He can now go and ask the Supreme Court to look at his case. Now, he has 14 days to do that. He has 14 days to apply. And when will the Supreme Court answer? No one knows. That can take months and months. So again, it's not guaranteed that the Supreme Court will actually take his case, but he can ask permission for them to look at his case, especially this point of law, okay? To certify this point of law number 2. And so that is a win. It's certainly a win for Assange, because if today they had stopped Assange from going there, from being able to submit an appeal to the Supreme Court, well, I mean, you know, it would have gone down to the magistrate's court and then to Priti Patel, the Secretary of State, right? we all know what she's going to do. At the same time, however, it's, you know, Assange could have gone to the Supreme Court by himself and petitioned them anyway. But it is a win. It is a win. And it raises a very important legal question, is can the requesting state submit assurances at any point? Now, I want to tell you something, because you might be wondering, well, what the hell does this have to do with press freedoms? I'd also like to know that, because now it's become a question of legal technicalities, right? I mean, you can have someone being extradited for stealing a car. Okay, that's not very realistic, but you know, the idea that this journalist and publisher, Julian Assange, is facing 175 years, up to 175 years in prison for publishing documents. I mean, we're not talking about this anymore. The assurances themselves, these hollow, empty assurances, which I have proven to you with classified documents, are worthless. Garbage. This is not being discussed anymore. The attack on press freedoms is not being discussed anymore. I mean, this is very bad. This is horrendous. You know, it's like hanging. I mean, it's a win, but again, it's kind of like when the district judge, Barretzer, blocked the extradition in the first place. Why did she block it? She blocked it on health grounds. Great, but it's not enough, because you've still criminalized journalism. Now, I want to play you a quick clip from Assange's fiancée, Stella Morris, mother of his children. She's also on the legal team. She was speaking outside the Royal Courts of Justice. Take a listen.
What happened in court today is precisely what we wanted to happen. The High Court certified that we had raised a point of law of general public importance, and that the Supreme Court has good grounds to hear this appeal. The situation now is that the Supreme Court has to decide whether it will hear the appeal. But make no mistake, we won today in court. But let's not forget that every time we win, as long as this case isn't dropped, as long as Julian isn't freed, Julian continues to suffer. For almost 3 years, he's been in Belmarsh prison, and he is suffering profoundly, day after day, week after week, year after year. Julian has to be freed, and we hope that this will soon end. But we are far from achieving justice in this case because Julian has been incarcerated for so long, and he should not have spent a single day in prison. If there had been justice, the officials who plotted, who conspired to murder Julian would be in the courtroom right now. If there were justice, the crimes that Julian exposed, war crimes, the killing of innocent civilians, would not be impugned. Our fight goes on, and we will fight this until Julian is free. Thank you.
Right, so that's Stella Morris speaking outside the High Court. Now, man, let me tell you something. Do you know what happened this morning? So, you know, they told me and the other handful of journalists covering this case that, you know, we'd hear from them this morning. Because I could have gone there in person, right? I had permission to go inside the court. But given how tough it is to travel and everything, you know, I asked for the remote thing. And they told us that, you know, we'd hear from them this morning. We didn't. You know, the court is supposed to start at 10:45 a.m. London time. It's 10:45. Nothing. And then they finally send us the link when it was over. You know, I connected and I see like the last minute and then it just goes black. And I'm like, what? I was stunned. Like, me and the other journalists, we were stunned. Like, we were so confused. Was that it? Are they coming back? What's going on? I mean, I'm stunned. I'm in disbelief. I cannot believe that they did that. Honestly. Unreal. You know, usually they've been good. Again, that I'm not saying that there haven't been issues. You know, the fact that I had to queue up in the public gallery to get in as a journalist, I mean, that kind of tells you everything. Not just me, but other people as well from other outlets. But in general, they've been good in giving us access. But man, what was that? What was that? You know, you don't think that we're supposed to see what's going on? This is our job, man. Not to mention the relevance and importance it has for the public to know what's happening. So it was short, but I don't care how short it is. If it's 1 minute or you know, 1 day, we should be in there. And I don't know why they sent us the link so late. That was just really terrible. Again, it wasn't just for me, it was like for everyone. So that was very unfortunate. That was very disappointing. But in any case, as you heard Stella Morris say outside the court, Julian won today in court. And again, great. But, you know, I really fear for what's to come, because I do think the Supreme Court will take his case. I do think so. It is a very important point. But why is it the only one? There are so many things that need to be considered here by the Supreme Court that are in the public interest, because, you know, usually Supreme Courts in most countries, they take things that are of pivotal importance to the public, that, you know, it's something that concerns everyone. It's a point of law. And so what they will decide sets a precedent. And it's just, I mean, again, even if Julian, let's say his extradition is blocked because of this technicality that the United States gave its assurances too late and they don't count, and Julian Assange will stay in the UK, he won't be extradited. That's great. That's just like when Judge Bretzer blocked the extradition in the first place. But it's not good for journalism. Because what the Supreme Court should be looking at, what the High Court should have been looking at, what, you know, the district judge should have been looking at is, how does this impact national security journalism in general, things that are in the public interest. Like, they just, I don't know, they're so casual about it. Oh, 175 years. What? And that, you got to take into consideration the years that he's already spent, being persecuted, in and out, shuffled around courts and court cases. And it's just, that's part of it too. Just because he hasn't been extradited doesn't mean that it hasn't been a witch hunt. As Stella and many others have pointed out, he's still in prison. So that, in January 2021, just a year ago, the same judge that blocked the extradition still kept him in jail, right? The bail hearing was 2 days later at Westminster Magistrates Court. Again, I was there too on January 6th, and it just throws him back in a Category A maximum security prison where they keep terrorists. What does that tell you, man? What does that tell you? They act like he's some kind of, international mobster or kingpin or something. It's just absurd. Absurd. So, once again, it's kind of a bittersweet decision. It's kind of a bittersweet victory. And the Supreme Court it has to be more than this, man. It has to be more than this. I want to tell you guys something. I'm not going to say how I know this, but the judges, the high court judges, when they looked at Mendoza's case, David Mendoza's case, who, again, just briefly, for those of you who don't know, Mendoza was extradited from Spain to the US in 2009, and he was given assurances very similar to what they're giving Julian Assange. And it actually even more. So Mendoza had a written contract, which he signed, the US signed, and Spain signed. That's gold. That's Julian Assange is not getting anything like that. Or at least he hasn't. So that was a contract, not just assurances, a legally binding contract. And they still screwed him. And he didn't publish classified documents. It was just for marijuana trafficking. And it's illegal now in Seattle, where the prosecutor's office was. Can you imagine? So they screwed him. And Assange's lawyer cited his case. From what I heard, though, the judges who looked at Mendoza's case and found nothing wrong with how the U.S. screwed him and violated their assurances, they did not see the contract, which, tips, it flips the entire thing on its head. Because once again, as I said, Mendoza didn't just have assurances. He had a contract, and the United States broke this legally binding contract. And the judges apparently didn't have this document, which I published just a few weeks ago, a little over a month ago. And again, this is another thing, in addition to all the previous things, the fact that, the CIA was discussing plans to potentially assassinate him, poison him, kidnap him. The fact that they did spy on him, that's a fact. We have the videos. The fact that it's an affront on press freedoms. Where is this? Where are the courts who are supposed to protect, journalism that's in the public interest? Where are the courts who are supposed to put their foot down and say, no, you cannot do this. You cannot throw a journalist into prison, ship him off to a country that he has no relation to whatsoever, and throw him in jail for almost 2 centuries. Where's the justice? The courts are supposed to stand in the way of such attacks. They're supposed to put their foot down and say, no, this is wrong. We're not allowing this. And now it's hinging on a technicality. It's just like when it went from the magistrate's court to the high court. It's just all about his health. Again, it's very bittersweet. And if you guys have any questions, shoot, go ahead, please ask. And I see we have close to 200 people watching. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please comment, because it helps with the algorithm. I can tell you one thing. When we're covering Assange's case, I don't see anyone from the BBC. I don't see anyone from Al Jazeera. I don't see anyone from CNN. And yet, they publish these articles they're not even there in the court, and they get all of this they show up immediately on Google, and their articles are being circulated the most. But they're giving you a skewed version of events. They're not even there. I'm telling you, they're not even there. So it's really important that you boost the journalists who are actually there. And it doesn't have to be me, all the others who are in the court, Stefania Morizi, Joey Loria, Consortium News, Kevin Gostola, Mohamed El-Mazi, he was actually in the court today. Tariq Haddad, there are many others, and I'm Mary Kostakidis, and I'm forgetting a few, but you should really boost these guys who are actually doing the work, So liking the video or commenting, it's the very least. So I really appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm. And again, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe for independent journalism. I don't usually do that. I don't ask people to subscribe, and then I realize, oh wait, every YouTube channel does that. Maybe I should think of doing that as well. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, just shoot. I'll try and go through them. And Omar says, Richard, do you have any optimism on having a favorable outcome? So I do think that the Supreme Court will hear his case, and I don't know what comes next. It's really just total speculation here. I have no clue. Part of me wants to believe that there will be a saving grace, but part of me is also like, well, look how they've screwed him so far. I don't know. I just got to hope for the best. And some people, again, this isn't just related to Assange, but in general, people say that, Supreme Court judges, they've made it. They're not looking for a promotion. They're set for life, so they don't have anyone to impress. And so, maybe some of them won't play by the establishment's rules. Although, again, that's sort of a naive thing as well to say. But the point here is that, who knows, you might get lucky and they block the extradition. I don't know. I really don't know. Kinky says, appreciate your work on this case, Richard. Thank you very much, Kinky. And thank you also, Lakers fan, for your kind comments. So, Humanity says, can the Supreme Court review all decisions or just this one, Richie? Well, here's the thing. There's one point of law that they're going to certify, and that's if they accept it. So, right now, where we are right now, it's just this. Let me show you. Again, let me pull it up for you, the pronouncement from today. As you can see, there were... Number 2, the point of law certified is, quote, in what circumstances can an appellate court receive assurances from a requesting state which were not before the court of first instance in extradition proceedings? So it's very narrow. It's very narrow. And it's man, what is going on here? This guy, they're plotting to assassinate him. They're slowly killing him anyway, but they're plotting to assassinate him. They've screwed other people with these so-called assurances. There's so many red flags here. So many red flags. What more do the courts need? I mean, I can't believe that these judges are stupid. This is a very high-profile case. They know who he is. They know that these things are true, that the CIA was out to get him. They know that those assurances from the Americans are garbage. They can't be that stupid. There's no way. So, Kinky says, do you get the feeling that there's a growing wave of support for Assange? Yeah, globally, yes, absolutely. You see a lot of parliamentarian groups popping up, in Germany, in France, in a lot of countries. I'm seeing various movements pop up, just in Parliament and also in the public for Assange. For example, there's the article that I wrote about David Mendoza about these assurances. Italians for Assange. They contacted me. It's a group, right, called Italians for Assange, and they translated the article into Italian, which is very flattering, and I really appreciate that very much. So yeah, I've been seeing lots of support for Assange, and I think it's growing and growing. And it's very important that he has this support, because this is a case that is going to be won through public pressure, you know? So once again, as I always say, shout out to the activists who are in front of the court each time and every time, you know, go Team Assange. You guys are great. And what I love about Team Assange is they're also pro-Palestine. They always bring the Palestinian flags, which makes me love them even more. So Millie says France, Italy, Germany more than Australia. Yeah, that's true. There are, of course, some good Australian politicians who support Assange. But if we look at the government stance, I mean, it's a travesty. It's a calamity. You know, the Australian government, I swear to God, like it's comical. They come out and they issue a statement saying that they support Navalny in Russia, and they're against everything that's happening to him, and they strongly urge the Russians to release him and all this. And then for Assange, they say, oh, no, we don't want to get involved into these legal proceedings of another country. What? But he's your citizen. He's an Australian citizen, and yet, you know, you're going to go and vouch, and you're going to go and bat for someone who, someone who isn't even your citizen, but you won't say anything for one of your own. I don't know. It's incredible to me. It's incredible to me that they do that. I think my stream is sort of lagging. I hope it's not lagging. I don't know what's going on. But Naz says, love your work. Thanks. What will it take for Assange to be set free? Thank you very much, Naz. I really appreciate the donation. Well, like I said, I think public pressure is what it's going to take, because so far, if you just look at the behavior of the courts, even when Assange wins, there's always a catch. Like I said, when the extradition was blocked, it was only blocked because of health reasons, not because the fact that he's a journalist and they're criminalizing journalism. They okayed that. And now, again, today, they're allowing it to go to the Supreme Court, but only on one point of law, something that isn't necessarily just about Assange, which, of course, is good. I mean, you know, it doesn't mean that, I'm not saying that only journalists should be protected from a requesting state submitting assurances afterwards. Of course not. It should be everyone who's protected from that. And it is a valid point of law. But the fact that it's the only thing being discussed when there are, you know, very, very valid concerns for what this means about the U.S. imposing its laws on other countries and persecuting journalists, like that's not being discussed anymore. So, you know, it's really a shame, honestly. Zachary says, well, Zachary didn't say anything, but they sent a tip. Thank you very much, Zachary. I appreciate it. You're very kind. I'm just trying to go through your comments. Shadow Dissector says, sounds fine, mainly listening. Thank you, Richard, for bringing us these truths, no matter how vile. Well, I'm glad. I don't know why the picture is laggy. It's just weird, but I'm getting a lot of dropped frames for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, I hope that doesn't take away too much from what I'm trying to say, because, you know, it's about the content. It's about the... Jerome says, low frame rate, but 4K. Yeah, it beats me. It beats me. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys this quick update on Assange, because, again, it's all these mainstream outlets, they quickly go and publish things about Assange. They have these things ready, but they're not even covering the case. You don't see them. One thing that comes to mind is, for example, when the extradition hearing was finished, and then you see like someone from Sky News there, and he didn't even know the judge's name. Like he had a cue card. He had to look down at a cue card to remember the judge's name. Like, okay, I'm not going to give you, I'm not trying to give anyone, you know, I'm not trying to hate on anyone for not remembering a name, but you can tell that they don't know anything about the case, right? They've just come on the last day because they want to, get their ratings up or clicks or whatever. They do this fake sort of coverage, and it's totally misinformed. It's lacking, and what can I say? Really, just support the independent journalists who are covering this. It doesn't have to be me; it could be the others. Preferably all of us, because it's a lot of work, and they make it tough for us also to do it. They make it tough. So, we try our best. In any case, let me see if you guys have any more questions. Mass Casualty, thank you for the tip. Mass Casualty says, do you think the timing of the case being during U.S. severe provocation with Russia and continued provocations with China lowers the likelihood of a good outcome? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that they would, the U.S. is always antagonizing China and Russia. Now, of course, I understand what you're saying here with, especially with Ukraine, but the UK, unfortunately, is, call it what you want, a vassal state. It's just an extension of the U.S. right now. And I think they would be screwing him regardless what's happening in, in Ukraine or in the Indo-Pacific, regardless. Because, again, they've been trying to do this for 10 years now. Of course, the indictment is 3 years old, but it was before that. They were trying different ways as well to screw him. So, regardless, I don't think it reduces necessarily the likelihood of a good outcome. I just think that it's to be expected. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but Gamal is very nice. Richard is the next John Pilger of our generation. Well, I very much appreciate that. Actually, I saw John Pilger. He wrote about my article, the Mendoza one. So that's very flattering. The other day I was looking through a bunch of old movies and DVDs in the house, and I found a DVD set of John Pilger documentaries. So that was really funny, man. That was really cool, honestly. And you're very kind, Gamal. Thank you so much. So Anne Lee says, Richard deserves a bigger viewer base. Well, the best way to achieve that, and I thank you very much, is to share the videos, share the articles, like, comment, subscribe. Because, like I said, this is one of those things where the mainstream media are not even there. I'm telling you, because we don't see them in the court. I didn't see them in person, and I didn't see them virtually. And then the mainstream media, they want to take control of the narrative so they can smear Assange, so they can skew the facts. I was just reading a BBC article now about Assange, about today's decision, and they were saying that Assange claims that this is a political persecution, and the U.S. says that he endangered lives. No, they didn't. The United States, the Department of Defense, that's the United States, said that WikiLeaks didn't endanger any lives. Why don't you say that? Like, why don't you distinguish between the indictment and what the U.S. said? Because it's both the U.S. They just show you one thing. And, I mean, this is lying by omission. It's a fact. It's a fact. The DOD, the Pentagon, said WikiLeaks didn't endanger anyone. It resulted in no one being harmed. That's a fact. And they don't tell you that. So you need to say both those things. You can't just say one. This is a minor example, right? I mean, Christ, the BBC in, I think it was December or October, during the High Court hearings, they made some short 5-minute video about Assange, and they were saying they didn't mention once the CIA plot to potentially kidnap him or kill him. Like, how do you not mention that? How do you not mention this blockbuster story? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, honestly. And no mention. So it's really important to to support independent journalists, the ones who are actually there, and who are not interested in skewing things or, lying to you. It's just we're reporting to you what is happening in there. And when you look at the facts and then you see how unjust it is, I mean, you could only take one position afterwards, which is, this is an attack. It's an attack on journalists everywhere, an attack on Assange. It's a message, a warning that they're trying to send to other journalists. It's a threat that we will go after you for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years if you mess with us. And we can't tolerate that. That's not acceptable. That's absolutely unacceptable. So I'm just looking at your comments. Give me a second. I'm just scrolling through them because I'm stuck at the top. I need to go down now. Belinda says, I believe David Lee was involved with setting up Assange to silence him. Now, I don't know if that's true, but one thing we do know is that he published the password to the to Cablegate, right? So, again, I talked about this during the extradition hearing, but I'll summarize it again. Basically, what happened is I'm gonna assume it's the Americans. It doesn't matter, but someone was attacking WikiLeaks' website and trying to take it offline with a DDoS attack, so a distributed denial of service, right? They send so many requests to the website that the server crashes and it goes offline and people can't open it. And so they were doing that to WikiLeaks, and then WikiLeaks said, here's our website. Everyone download it and re-upload the website. Go and host the website, so no matter how many times WikiLeaks is attacked, there are still copies of the files, these important publications on the internet. And apparently, there was an encrypted file. At least, that's how they told it during the extradition hearing. And the password for this encrypted file, which contained all of these State Department cables, which weren't released yet, David Lee published it in his book. And David Lee's a journalist at The Guardian. So when people say that Julian Assange endangered lives because he recklessly published these files, he didn't do that. This idiot at The Guardian published the password as a chapter in the title of a chapter in one of his books. And someone put two and two together and opened it, and then it was posted online by Cryptome.org. Cryptome.org was the first website to post these unredacted cables. And then WikiLeaks published it, because the cat's out the bag. They were like, well, they're already uploaded. We might as well post them. And it's so funny because during the extradition hearing, the founder, the head of Cryptome.org, submitted a witness statement to the court, and he said, I am the one who uploaded the unredacted cables. The United States government has never asked me to take them down, have never tried to indict me, nothing. So it shows you it's not about who posted the cables and who released them. It's about messing with Assange. It's about going after him and his organization. But of course, you won't hear that. You won't hear that in the mainstream media. They won't tell you these things. They want you to believe a certain narrative. They want you to believe that, he endangered lives and he's not a journalist, he's a hacker, and, all yada, yada, yada. It's just, they have an endless list of smears. That's what happens when you challenge power, when you become successful. People try to take you down. They try to smear you and take away from the work that you're doing with nonsense. With nonsense. Things that are easily, if you go right now on Twitter, the tweet from Cryptome.org is still there. You can literally see the timestamp that it was posted before WikiLeaks. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a short update about the Assange High Court hearing today. Please support independent journalists, not just myself, but all the others who are doing great work. You can do that by sharing the video, liking it, commenting, anything that helps the algorithm. And of course, if you want to support this channel, you want to support independent media, please consider donating. You can, donate monthly on Patreon for $2. Anything you like, you can put in the amount, or send a donation on PayPal. And if you have any questions or comments, I'll certainly read them out to you. And yeah, there's a bunch of links underneath: PayPal, Patreon, whatever, anything that's good for you. And I appreciate everything. Whether you guys support the channel financially or not, it's all the same to me. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Sorry about the lagging for a while. I guess I always like to joke that the NSA is jamming my signal. Hopefully not, but yeah, I think we're okay now. In any case, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And I was also, by the way, I was on Press TV and RT just before this to give a brief recap, so you can go watch those as well if you want. And I also posted an article on Substack. I have a Substack. I post articles there. I posted a recap of today's High Court decision, and again, that's free. That's just an email newsletter. You can sign up to support it, but you don't have to. I don't believe in paywalls. I think everything should be free, and if people like it, then they donate. That's the mentality that I come from doing music. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. Take care, and ma'as salama. Bye-bye.